The following episode of the Comics and Crypto podcast is for informational purposes only, and anything expressed by the hosts or their guests is solely their opinion. This podcast does not constitute financial advice, and anyone wishing to invest should seek their own independent financial or professional help. Have fun and enjoy the show.
Hi, I'm Sean O'Hare, and I know comics.
Hi, I'm Spencer Vogel, and I know crypto.
Hi, I'm Kevin Lee Loader, and I don't know shit. This is the Comics and Crypto podcast.
Comics and crypto, crypto and comics, collector's world in a digital age. Comics and crypto, crypto and comics is where the next billionaires will be made. It's comics and crypto.
Thanks so much for joining us today. We are here with an amazing guest, a rising star in the VeVe community.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
What's up, bud? How you doing?
Hey, pretty good, man. How about you?
Really good. Really good. I have to say, I am actually really a big fan of your content. I really enjoy it. And coming from a podcast that literally focused on comics, like being able to watch other content creators, especially like yourself, man, and really like, geek out over the things that you say and talk about, it's just, that's says a lot. So
yeah. No, it's really interesting to go from physical to digital and just to kind of transition. It's really like a very interesting thing that happened to me, and I'm happy that I did it, to be honest. It's a whole different world from physical comics. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe we could dive a little bit into your background. Like, how long have you been a collector? Have you always collected physical comic books?
Yes. So how it started was my father, he had 20 long boxes in a storage unit because we just had no idea what it was. And we told him, hey, let's just throw out these comics because we had no idea about comics. And all of a sudden, I said to myself, you know what? Let me look at these. Let me really research them before we throw them out. And I kept going through them. I saw some Silver Age, some Bronze Age. And then I saw Giant Size X-Men 1. Then I saw the Punisher's first appearance. And I was like, oh, maybe this is something. And, of course, I was on eBay because I had no idea about Go Collect or GP Analysis at the time. And from then we found out, okay, this collection's worth this much. And what I did personally was I sold the smaller books off to get bigger books. So my whole goal wasn't to just sell just to make the money. I wanted to reinvest it back into comics. And then I got really addicted going to like Comic Cons, like New York Comic Con, Big Apple Comic Con. And then I went to MegaCon down like in Orlando, and I was just hooked. I love talking to dealers, talking to other collectors, and just trading. I love listen, even like at a loss, I love trading. I just love the deal. Really, I really do. It's weird, right? Yeah. But I just love like the deal and just like haggling with the people. And that's really how I got into it. It's like my dad actually collected, and then I got into it afterwards. So that's how it worked.
That's so cool. So there's definitely a lot of sentimental value to the comic books.
Oh, for sure.
It's really cool, actually, the comics that you mentioned. I'm particularly very excited about dropping on VeVe as well, like Giant Size X-Men #1 and ASM 129.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's... Yeah.
I can't wait for that to happen. And I actually, a really funny story. My father had 2 ASM 129s, and he gave one copy to his nephew. And I told him, what did you do? Like, why would you do that? And he was like, oh, I didn't know. I just gave it to him. And back then, it was worth like $400, I think, like back like in the 90s. And then he actually traded that for like 30 other comic books. And then he actually called him and said, hey, do you know now? Now it's worth this much money. This is great. He was like, what did I do? So it's pretty funny. I mean, ASM 1, like 129 will always be in my heart. I just love that comic. Yeah. But that story just hurts. You know what I mean? But, what are you going to do?
It's amazing, too, because that comic particularly isn't very scarce. But, man, popularity, again, something that definitely kind of geeked out over is the importance of popularity.
It's just like Giant Size or AF-15. There's a lot of them out there. It's not that scarce, right. But people really want it. And that's what makes the difference. That's what makes it so valuable, So, yeah.
Exactly. So VeVe, how did you get involved with VeVe? How did that start?
So Dan Schwabel, I think that's how you say his last name. I think everyone
Dan Schwabel.
Dave Schwabel, yeah. So Dan is great. We've been talking ever since I've been buying and selling comics, to be honest. I got into like Elite Comics with Ali and everybody. And I was, just selling and buying. And he actually saw my Instagram account and he reached out. And then we talked for like months, like literally every day. I'm not even joking. And then he was like, oh, do you know about VeVe? And I'm like, what's VeVe? And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to spend money on there. Yeah, it's not even real. You know what I mean? And then I did my research. And then here I am today. You know what I mean? So you know, like the first like week, I was like, you know what, let me sell some grails, some comic grails, like, you know, Showcase 4 and Werewolf by Night 32. I sold those 2 grails to buy some comics on VeVe, and I never looked back, to be honest, because I feel like there's a real future for this platform. And that's why I made the YouTube channel, and that's why I'm just buying more at this point. And at this point, it's like an addiction. It's not good. You know, what are you going to
That's
do?
awesome. So for everyone out there, just so you know, the Showcase 4 is the first appearance of
Silver Age Flash, Barry Allen. Yeah,
Alright.
it's a really sought after key. There's only 392 blue labels out there. So it's very scarce and very in demand. That's a perfect, you know, combination. I had a 1.0, 1.5, something like that. I bought it for like 5,000, sold it for 8 a week later. Just because like the demand is just there, you know? So it's pretty cool. Yeah, first appearance of Flash.
That's awesome. And a big shout out to Dan Chabelle for introducing you and introducing
Yes.
us. I've met some great people because of Dan, so big shout
Oh,
out to Dan.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Dan's the best. Definitely check out Dan. He does really cool interviews with like really big celebrities. He's really cool. Check him on Instagram. Yeah. And
Great
YouTube.
interviews. Great guy.
Yeah.
And also a big shout out to Elite Comics 11 and Ali as well. Big
Oh, yeah.
sponsors of the podcast. Big shout out to them and everything they do. Great place to buy and sell your comics.
I really recommend it. I sold some comics with Elite, and honestly, great, you know, transactions. Everything was great. You know what I mean? So I just sold the X-Men 1 with them. So yeah, it's a huge grail for some people. So that was
Oh, you just sold an X-Men 1 with them. What grade was it?
6.5.
Wow. That's
It was a big book. Yeah, it was a big book, and I needed the funds. I bought something else, and I was like, oh, I need to sell this. So Elite was like, okay, we'll put it up, and it sold within like a couple hours.
wow.
So just imagine that going from Heritage or Elite Comics. Heritage, I get to ship in your book to Heritage. You have to wait for them to sell it. You have to hope you get that number. Whereas with Elite, you could tell them, hey, I want this much money, and if it sells, it sells. You know what I mean? So I kind of like that platform a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And their service is wonderful. You know, they're very communicative, and
Oh yeah.
that's fantastic. That's
Yeah.
so cool.
So, yeah.
So the comics that are on VeVe right now,
Uh-huh.
are there anything specifically that you're stacking?
Well, I actually made a video about it. ASM 300, first appearance of Venom. I think is very undervalued based on scarcity. There's only 225 secret rares that are actually available. I bought 4, and I bought it under FOMO at first. I bought it while I was in Europe. I bought it for like $1,200, which was stupid because now it's like a 600. But right now I'm trying to stack more as it drops because I think it's a very good buy. Just based on value, that's what I mean. Also, first appearance of Bullseye, Daredevil 131. I have like 25 secret rares. I'm not even joking. 25 secret rares, and there's 600 out there. Yeah, I'm really bullish on Bullseye, you know, with like the new series coming out. So I was like, you know what, why not just take the gamble and buy 25? Which I probably overdid it a little bit, but you know, we'll see what happens, you know?
That's okay. Yeah, ASM 300 especially.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's another comic, guys, that defies the odds. You know, it's a not particularly scarce comic, but man, it keeps going up. It keeps going
No,
up.
it's a very solid physical book. At a 9.8, it's been I got $5,000. It is stable as can be. And even in this down market, it's like at 45 or even 4,200. It's a very stable comic. Everyone loves Todd McFarlane, that classic cover. It's just a good buy overall. And it's Venom. I mean, one of the best characters out there. So, especially from the 80s. So, yeah.
So what are some of your favorite things about these digital comic books? Like what was that moment that really clicked for you as a not just a collector but as an investor in this space?
Okay, so number one for me was like my father's way of collecting really showed me that I don't want to be a hoarder. He had 20 long boxes. You know,
I'm looking at my bedroom right now actually, and I was like, oh man, this is get out of control.
Oh my God. I mean, but seriously, though, he had 20 long boxes. I said to myself, oh my God, if I want to move, like good luck moving all this stuff, right? So I sold a lot on Whatnot, actually. I actually became like a Whatnot seller, like, I don't know, September of last year. Sold a lot of them off. And then I started buying grails. But then I wanted to really cut down to like physical like grail comics. And then once I got into it, I kind of get bored quickly. So I sell, like even if I got like a really like X-Men 1 grail, I get bored and I just sell it because I just want to move on, right? Which is why I like VeVe, because I think that it's a good investment. It's scarce and I can sell it very easily. So if I get bored, like let's say if I have the, I don't know, secret rare of AF15 and I get bored of it, I could just sell it like that, if it's a good market, of course, and then just get something else. Instead of having to go on eBay and then have to worry about shipping and all this other stuff. You know, so it's a little bit, it's an easier transaction for me. And I feel like it has more potential, you know?
Those are great points. That's something that I've been particularly very excited about as well.
Mhm.
I mean, shipping worldwide is a very complicated thing. People don't, if they haven't been through that process, then there's there's a lot of paperwork and potential tariffs, and it's rough. And if once you send it out, there's chances are they'll never get it. You know, they just disappear in the mailing.
It's happened often. I just saw this guy on YouTube. He had a CGC, mail coming in, and he lost it. Like the USPS actually lost his package. And I'm like, can you imagine just losing a $20,000 comic just because it's complications?
It's terrifying.
So that's why I don't want to deal with that anymore. Like that X-Men 1 sale, I was terrified. You know what I mean, for shipping. So I'm happy just to get away from that, to be honest.
At what level is it just worth flying out to wherever this person is and just giving it to them directly?
You're right, honestly, but I don't like flying, and I'm not willing to fly to sell a comic. I'd much rather ship it, get insurance, and just pray for the best. You know what I mean? But end of the day, if I could avoid it, just avoid it.
To add on to that, I have friends in certain parts of the world where their postal system is very corrupt. So having the opportunity to send him comic books that I really enjoy, and that I know he will enjoy, has been a real treat, man. It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. And he's been enjoying them, like he's been loving them.
Cool.
So it's really, really, really cool.
Really cool. So like really the point is just avoid the post office at all costs. If you can. You know what I mean? Do in-person deals if you could, essentially. If it's really big. Yes.
It's always worth the insurance.
Oh yeah.
I particularly I fingers crossed I've never had to go through any nightmare stories with the postal service, but I mean, with Elite Comics 11, one of the mandatory things you got to do is have insurance.
Oh yeah. You know what happened actually recently? With them, I shipped out a Werewolf by Night 32. It was around $8,000, like $8,000 roughly. And all of a sudden, it says lost. I'm like, lost? What do you mean lost? And then, so what happened was the shipper, like the delivery person, actually delivered it, but he or she didn't scan it that it was delivered.
Oh my gosh!
I almost got a heart attack because I'm like, imagine filing a claim and having to deal with all that. It's just not worth it. So physicals are great, but if you could avoid shipping at all costs, especially if it's a big book, essentially.
And also accessibility, right? Being able to instantly receive and sell your comic worldwide is also pretty remarkable.
Really cool. Yeah.
Really, really cool.
Yeah.
And then of course localization. Having the opportunity to change languages on these things. We tweeted out recently.
That I can't wait. I can't wait for that. Yeah. Just imagine being in Italy and someone has an Italian version of AF-15. That is so cool. You know what I mean? They're gonna love it. They're gonna tell their friends about it, and it's gonna spread even more. So yeah, that's gonna be really cool.
It's gonna be really cool. What a fun opportunity that'll be.
Yeah.
So are there any comics that you're hoping to see drop on VeVe in the near future?
Well, you and I talked about Captain America Comics #1. That is a huge can't wait for that.
Coach Chappelle is also a big fan of that comic. He knew how much I knew out over that.
Yeah. I'm dying to know what VeVe is gonna ask and how many editions they're actually gonna make. That's actually going to be pretty interesting for me, but yeah, I can't wait for that drop. That's going to be, and plus Giant Size, of course, and Punisher, that's going to be cool too. But Captain America Comics #1, that's like the goal. That's the grail,
So cool. There's less than 500 or 600 copies on the CGC census. There might be less.
I believe so. I think there's less than that. It's golden age.
Only like 300. Yeah. It's scarce. I think there's less than 300 actually.
I think so as well.
Unbelievably scarce.
Yep.
Significant IP, has tremendous historical value. It came out in World War II. And it's the first appearance of covers. He's punching Hitler in the face, Captain America.
Iconic. Yeah.
It's the first appearance of not only Captain America, but also Bucky Barnes, a.k.a. Winter Soldier, and also...
Makes all the difference.
That's crazy. Yeah, you got
Bucky.
You got Bucky in there. He's the Winter Soldier. Yeah. You got 3 FAs on it in one comic. Yeah. That's crazy for a Golden Age comic, especially.
Jack Kirby drew it. I mean, this really
amazing. Yeah. And Joe Simon, that's amazing work.
Actually, I had a book signed by Joe Simon and Jerry Robinson. It was Detective 76, I believe. Like a really cool Joker cover from the 40s. I sold it, and I kind of look back at it, and I'm like, what did I do? Like 2 icons sold, signed it, and I sold it. Over what? You know what I mean? Like some books you just have to keep. It's just so iconic, some things that you have. Just don't sell everything. That's my, because that's what I did. I really regret it.
Especially books that are sentimental or have signatures like the ones you just mentioned.
Yeah.
It's tough, man, because I actually just recently got a book back. I should go grab it real quick. This is awesome. I literally just got it back in the mail.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, it's
CGC?
from CGC. Yeah,
Oh, cool.
I waited 2 years to get this back.
2 years.
2 years, guys. Yeah, and the reason for it was signed by Larry Lieber.
Ah, cool.
This is as everyone will recognize, this is the first appearance of Black Widow. It's a grade 5/5, and it's signed by Stan Lee and also Larry Lieber.
Great placement, too. It looks like it's part of the title. It's so weird.
I love his signature so much because it's blocky. It's just little letters and caps.
So cool. It's great placement on both signatures. Wow.
I was so pumped to get this one back. It was tough because I sent it off to a third party.
So I think this one you pressed?
Oh yeah. It was pressed and
Pressed it?
complete. You know, but yeah. But it was
great.
I sent it off to them about 2 years ago and it's signed by Larry Lieber, but unfortunately, he's 90 now.
Really?
Yeah, he didn't want to do signatures because of the pandemic. I sent it off right before the pandemic hit. And then he canceled. And then he pushed it off. And he pushed it off. And he pushed it off. And here we are 2 years later.
Wow.
Finally decided, yeah, I'll do it now. It's fine.
If you're so persistent, how can he not? You know?
Exactly, right? I mean,
Wow, that's
right here you see on there to their defense, it says August 1st, 2022. That's when he signed it,
So cool.
which is crazy. That was just a month and a half ago. So really cool that they were willing to expedite this too.
Yeah, so talking about that, I have a Neil Adams signed book. This is Batman 200. He signed it right over here. And, just because he passed, it means more also, you know what I mean? Because you can't get him to sign it again.
Exactly.
So really cool, you know what I mean? Like, these kind of things you just don't sell. You don't have to.
I consider this one goes under the category of never selling for sentimental value.
Sure.
So this is the giant size X-Men.
No,
I know. And it's signed by Len Wein, Herb Trimpe, Stan Lee, Chris Claremont, and Roy Thomas.
wow. Evolve.
They got all of them. Yeah. So originally it came with Herb Trimpe, Len Wein, and Stan Lee. And then I had it cracked and signed by Roy Thomas and Chris Claremont.
Now that's scary. Cracking a book to get more signatures, that's scary.
It was a bold strategy, but I had to do it. It was like this. That pretty much sets everybody, right, who was involved in this book, except for, of course, Dave Cockrum, who unfortunately passed decades ago. But yeah, and Gil Kane. But yeah, this is so cool, man. Like, had that opportunity to have them all sign this again.
It's really cool.
It's a replaceable signature.
Yeah. At the keeper, for sure. That's cool. That's great, man. Giant size. That's one of the most iconic comics out there, so.
I finally got this one printed out, too.
Oh, yeah, I saw that in here. So cool.
Yeah. That was fun.
Wow. So Tom McFarlane actually signed it and you had to print it out?
Yeah, so he signed the photo just with his finger. So it's a screenshot. Like there's no investment value, but for sentimental value, it's probably
Exactly. That's all that really matters at that point.
I didn't even think about printing it out, but man, it looked great.
On a canvas, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like
It's great. You have to put it on the wall now.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I found a spot for it. Yeah, it's really rad. Signatures is something that I've been particularly very excited about, especially for in the digital space. There's a company called Autograph.io. It's a company owned by Tom Brady. And Tom Brady and Lionsgate both own that company. And they do authentic digital signatures on like an iPad. They do signature and they tie it to an NFT. So it's an authentic real signature that you can tie to an NFT. This is going to come to VeVe.
Now, I kind of wonder, how does that change the value of the collectible? You know what I mean? Because like this comic is $200, Blue Label. If it wasn't signed, I paid $500 for this just because of this signature.
Right.
So that's going to change the game for VeVe too. And it's make it way more expensive.
Exactly. Taking that even further, you can imagine like the first ever Todd McFarlane signed digital collectible would be worth even more money.
Okay.
So the idea of differentiating value is going to probably be even more significant. And people are going to talk about certain things that I didn't even think about.
Sure.
That's probably one of them. The fact that you can send these collectibles anywhere around the world, people who are in like South Africa, for example, who've never been to a Comic-Con show in the States,
exactly,
have the opportunity to meet Todd McFarlane. But I'd send their digital collectible, have it signed by him directly. They can attach the signature, boom, send it back.
Yep. I mean, looking right now, I really want to go to New York Comic Con. It's going to be in October, and I have to go to Orlando, Florida, so I can't make it. So wouldn't that be cool to have Tom McFarlane, if he was going to be there, instead he could just, send it to me over the phone. That's so cool. That's a great concept, honestly.
It's so
Yeah.
and also even doing it in person, where you could actually. So if let's say I run into Todd McFarlane on the streets, and I'm like, Todd, could you sign my NFT? And you can sign it, and what they could do is have like a recording of this him signing the signature, verify that it's him using possibly facial recognition technology. I'm sure they could do something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
Or have some type of witness verify with the video. But there you go, verified signature.
That's really cool, because like CGC does the same exact thing. For this comic, they had to actually witness Neil Adams sign it. Whereas CBCS, you could just get like the signature, they send it into them, and then they authenticate it. That's a really cool idea, where you can actually get facial recognition for Tom McFarlane, and then you can say, hey, this is actually him, and he signs it, and it's actually authenticated. Really cool idea. I had no idea about this.
Yeah, well, is that fun? And especially for signing digital collectibles or also even comics. And then potentially what's really cool, you could change where that signature is on the cover. Can you imagine
The placement. That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I saw recently a 9.2 or 9.4 graded Fantastic Four 52, the first appearance of Black Panther.
Yep.
And Stan Lee signed over his face.
Oh. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I've seen that placement. Yeah. Yeah. And actually, believe it or not, it actually lowers the value of the comic, because some people want to be like, oh, I don't like that. Destroys the comic. So yeah, for sure. That's really cool that you can actually move the autograph wherever you want it. Wow.
I mean, this is all speculation.
I mean, yeah, if it happens.
But the possibility's there for sure.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I know that on like DraftKings, they've been selling NFTs, and that's where their autograph is getting involved specifically. And the signature is like off to the side. It's not actually on the NFT, but I think that it would make sense to somehow try to find a place to put it on the NFT, specifically comics. Maybe not the collectibles. Maybe you could have it off to the side somehow and be showcased. But either way, really exciting. I think this is going to be a really big feature for the space.
Yeah. I'll definitely be doing that if it actually happens. It's really cool. Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a limited edition signature. You know what I mean? Like, just imagine if Tom McFarlane did like only 50 signatures for a certain comic. That would be really cool.
This is where another type of utility that could be added to the Master Collector program, right? You having access to one of these signatures, maybe you'd be entered into a raffle if you drop X amount of points, something like that. So you'd be eligible to get a signature from Todd McFarlane or even one of the VeVe artists to sign the comic.
Pretty cool idea.
Yeah. Like Alex, who did the original cover work for AF-15, he's going to be at New York Comic Con this year.
So get him to sign it.
Yeah, so it would be super cool to have him sign that. I would be pumped about it. Yeah, because I'm a big signature guy when it comes to comics. I know
you are.
A lot of people are mixed bags. Either.
Yes.
Well, how do you? I mean, you own one, so I know you at least.
Yeah, I mean, I used to just buy the grade. That's all I really cared about. But then I was like, you know what? Some of these people pass away, and then it's kind of like you can never get assigned again. And it's very limited quality. So that's why I kind of transitioned into signatures too. But when I first started, I was very like just blue labels. That's all I care about. But now, once I saw Neil Adams, one of the best artists, especially like from the 70s, like he had some like Batman 251 iconic Joker cover. He's an amazing artist, and just to have his signature is really cool. So I just, that's something that I'll keep and I won't sell, because it's kind of like a one of a kind to me. You know what I mean? For that book. So yeah, for sure. I'll definitely buy more signature books in the future.
So what other comics are you eyeing right now in the marketplace? Aside from
this is for VeVe.
Oh, sorry. VeVe.
VeVe. Okay. So more ASM 300, like I said. ASM 1, I don't have the secret rare yet. I want that. I really want Marvel Comics 1, but let's be honest, at $10,000 for a secret rare, it's not going to happen anytime soon. Maybe more Daredevil 131s, secret rare. So as a comic collector, I know which comics are really hot in the physical world, because like the first appearance of Bullseye, it's a $5,000 to $8,000 comic at a 9.8. It's a solid book. However, on VeVe, most people are collecting what they like, but they might not necessarily know the physical world comparison. So I feel like when more comic book collectors come into VeVe, then it's going to kind of transition. It's kind of change the prices a lot, I feel like, in the future.
How do you feel that like physical comic collectors, when they come into the space, how they're going to react towards like secret rare comics specifically?
I feel like they're going to like it a lot. I feel like the low mint numbers are important, but as a comic book collector, physical, I really focus in more on the secret rare just because of the scarcity aspect of it. When I sold a floor price, let's say, I don't know, AF15, let's say it's $15,000 floor price. I know once I buy that floor price, okay, then my money is at 15,000. Whereas if you buy a low mint number, yeah, it's a little bit, it's different. There's no real floor price. You have to worry about, is someone going to buy it because it's a low mint number. And I feel like as more comic book collectors come into the app, they're going to care about about the secret rares, but I may be wrong. I could definitely be wrong. And people may look at the low mint numbers as, it's the grade of the, like of the comic. So I want a low mint number instead. I may be wrong.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's been a big debate within the community about low mint commons versus like high mint secret rares.
Yeah.
And like which one are people going to prefer more? And really at the end of the day, I've just been expressing my feelings about it as they're both going to win. Like, I don't really think it's a competition between the two. It really comes down to personal choice. I mean, just like in your autograph on the cover of your physical comic books, some people are against it. They hate the idea of getting signatures, and some people pay 10x the same price or the same grade because of the signature or signatures on the comic.
I agree. I mean, look, Johnny Dunn is a great YouTuber on the platform.
Yeah, big shout out to Johnny Dunn.
Johnny's great. He loves low mint numbers, especially commons. He eyes that. So I respect it. Some collectors really love low mint numbers. I get it. But I just love having that secret rare and just knowing it's like, 250 of them in the world. Like I have 4 ASM 300s. I love knowing that I have 2% of the market, kind of. You think about it. So it's really cool in that aspect.
Well, what about low mint secret rares?
Well, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. Maybe like $50,000. Yeah, not gonna happen.
That's so funny because that's something that I was eyeing big time. That's something I focused on all in from the very beginning was low mint secret rares. Like one of my first big purchases on the app was actually a 883 SR of Fantastic Four #1.
Wow.
So it's a 3. Yeah. So I got that for $2,000 on the marketplace.
You still have it? Nice. That's cool.
There's actually a personal story for that because I had an opportunity to get it was a 5 grade. I think it was for around $8,000 about 3 or 4 years ago.
Yep.
There's a 5.0 Fantastic Four 1. And man, I one of the biggest regrets of my life.
You didn't think
I told myself when that comic drops on VeVe, I'm going to go hard on it. I don't care when. I'm going to figure out the best possible buy-in value for whatever opportunity comes. And sure enough, that was there. Back then, when something was on the marketplace, you couldn't reserve a purchase.
You couldn't?
Right? No. So if you didn't have the gems, you had to keep buying X amount of gems and then hope that it was still there. So when that was dropped, it was 2,000 gems. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh my God, and I need to get it. And I kept buying 4 or 5 transactions, praying that it was going to happen. I remember sitting in my car making this happen and it was still there. And I was able to sit. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Perfect timing. Yeah. I actually have one secret rare of FF1. I have one. And then I sold one recently for $2,700. You have no idea how I wanted it so badly, but I stopped myself. I'm like, just stop. And now it's at $3,000. So it's fluctuating a lot recently overall. But that low mint number, that's really cool to have that.
Thanks,
that's really cool. Congrats.
Thank you so much. That's definitely a ride or die for me.
Oh, yeah. Hold on to that. Yeah. Don't regret selling like I do. You know what I mean? Don't sell.
I feel like a broken record at this point with FF1, but I'm just so high on that comic because one, I mean, it's one of the biggest grails ever. Yep. I mean, that comic is I personally think that not one of those 9.6 is sold. It would probably be an 8-digit sale. For sure, it's very possible.
I think so too. Like there was a 9.2 that sold for 1.5 million, a 9.2 recently.
Yeah.
But now the market has dropped. I think a 9.0 sold for 2 something. I'm not 100% sure, but I think the market dropped overall. But yeah, 9.6, it's going to be over.
And
yeah.
They've never sold. There's only 2.
They never sold, exactly.
Never sold. And that's the thing, right? So people with deep pockets are going to FOMO into it, and they're going to want it no matter what.
Yeah.
Just like the recent Mickey Mantle 1952 Topps 9.5 graded card. That sold for $12.6 million.
Insane.
During a recession and bear market, that card
exactly.
$12.6 million.
Deep pockets. At that.
Pockets.
Yeah.
This is once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah. And also another book that I really want until I drop on VeVe, X-Men 1. I just love the book, even though I just sold it. I still love the book. And a 9.6 just sold, I believe, on Comic Connect for like 827,000 plus 20% buyer premium. So it's almost $1 million book. A 9.6.
Yes, well, great.
9.6.
Oh,
There's
wow.
more copies in the census, and there's 2 9.8s. So the 9.8 will be at least $3 to $5 million probably for a 9.8. There's only 2 in the world. Then buyers are still in the market for sure.
There you go. That's
You
a
know?
perfect example. What's your definition of a Grail comic? Because for us, as an investor, we look at a Grail comic as a comic that's worth $500,000 or more in its highest grade.
Yeah.
And so it kind of gives us an idea, like a foundation, right? Like, and Grails can come, and Grails could potentially go if things drop. But like, that's the exciting part about the idea of that definition, is that more Grails can be added, join that hierarchy over time.
Sure.
But do you have a specific like definition for a Grail, or for when you invest in certain things?
Sure. I look at first appearances. That's like number one if you're a comic book collector. First appearance, artist, age. Is it Silver Age, Golden Age, Bronze Age? So I look at that as well. When I started collecting comics, I was buying modern age comics like Young Avengers 1, first appearance of Riri. And then I went to Comic-Cons. I tried to trade them. I had like 5 copies of each. I know it's sad, but I had like 5 copies. I wanted to trade all of them for like a Silver Age comic, let's say. And they would all tell me, no, I don't want to trade you for that. I want a Silver Age key instead. So as a physical comic book collector, I'm going to stick to Silver Age keys because it's the most relevant to society right now, to culture right now. That there are a lot of Golden Age keys that are really cool, but they're not that relevant to today's culture. It's not that relevant. So Silver Age keys like X-Men 1, Fantastic Four 1, like those big books are definitely Grails just because of first appearance, the artist, scarcity, and all like all these other things. It's just really important to look at first appearance. Because look at AF-15. Spider-Man is the biggest character out there, and that's why his book is so much money. Because demand is so high,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You see, like AF-15, there's probably, I think there's around like 3,000 total editions on the CG.
roughly, yeah, like 25 to 3,000.
2,500 to 3,000, yeah. And now look at, like, for example, like Groot, F.A. Groot, Tales to Astonish 13, and there's like maybe 500. But in its highest grade, the book is maybe about 100K.
That's to me, even like in a low grade, it's a lot of money. A couple thousand.
Yeah.
Grade.
Yeah. But way more scarce book. Still a very significant character. And if you see from our latest video, we're very bullish on that comic.
Yeah.
But but then you compare it to AF-15, it's a much more popular character, even with 6X editions. It's worth way more, even in its highest grade.
Yes, at that point, it's all about demand instead of scarcity.
Exactly.
Because EF-15 is just, it's out there. You can, there's like 2,500 out there. Whereas, the other one, Groot, is like, what, 500 or less? Something like that. But it's just, Spider-Man is just so huge as compared to Groot. Groot has one word, Groot.
Yeah.
It's a whole different character level, and that's why it's just such in demand. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I'm really refreshing to hear your perspective on that because, from the very beginning, when they started dropping comics on VeVe, people were putting tremendous value on comics that weren't particularly big keys and not really worth a lot in the physical space, and these things are tied to that IP. So, and one thing I kept just stressing is over time, we're going to see 500, 1,000, potentially tens of thousands of comics dropped on this app.
Exactly.
Which one are going to stand the test of time? Which one are going to continue to increase in value and not decrease because more comics are coming on? Right.
I mean, let's not forget that there's a lot of comics out there that are worth $1 or less. So if you're gonna buy a comic that's not a first appearance or just not a key in general, just because like it's on VeVe, that's the worst mistake that you can make. Definitely stay away from non-keys. It's just not worth it at this point. Like I said, Fantastic Four #1. If X-Men 1 comes out, like the big keys that go for a lot of money in the physical world, that's what I recommend buying. Like Groot, in the real world, in the physical world, it's a lot of money. So that's a good investment if you think about it. So yeah, just scarcity based on VeVe's, like I don't know, 600 secret rares out there. Like, let's just say that. Scarcity and first appearance and how big the book is in the physical world. That's how I really determine whether I buy or not on VeVe.
Those are all great points. Safe floors with big upside.
Yes.
Those are our favorite type of investments.
Yep.
FF1, FF5, all the Silver Age keys, especially on VeVe, those are all just exciting long-term investments.
Like the reason I'm buying a lot of ASM 300s is because of the scarcity aspect. Everyone knows Venom. It's a very big character. Tom McFarlane, is the artist. There's a lot of wins in that comic book, and the scarcity aspect of it makes me want it even more as a physical comic book collector. So that's how I think about ASM 300. I love that comic.
That's such a great point. Yeah. I know we own a 9.6 signed by Todd and Nick.
You
Yeah. And that guy's amazing. Such a nice person.
That's cool. That's really cool. So my father actually had a raw copy of ASM 300. I got it pressed, and I got a 9.6. And I was so mad because I wanted a 9.8. I was like, oh, it's perfect.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That guy's probably having a bad day.
Listen, honestly, that's why I don't like physical comics as well, is because CGC, it's all opinion based. These graders might say, oh, I think it's a 9.0, where it's really a 9.4 or 9.6. So that's why I like VeVe as well, is that there's no opinions. It is what it is.
Yeah.
That's another reason.
Yeah. That's a really good point. It's not biased. It's unbiased.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's really cool. So do you believe in low mid numbers?
I do. I mean, listen, secret rares is only like 5 different categories. Like there's common, uncommon, you know what I mean? So
And together in one total edition.
yes.
Yeah.
So you can't really determine value off of that so much. Like after a certain point, you have to go deeper into it. And that's why I think, like you said, low mid numbers will matter eventually, especially when there's more buyers in the market. I really believe that you're right, that once you have a low mint secret rare, it's going to be worth a crazy amount of money based on a good market. So sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And even right now, because when the demand was there, man, low mints were selling like crazy, but not so much anymore because the demand isn't there right now. But that's going to change over time.
For sure.
It really comes down to differentiating value.
So, it's just being out there, people are going to see them. And it's just once they keep going and people just get used to seeing VeVe there, then eventually it's going to turn. And people are going to start coming to VeVe and say, oh, it's actually a pretty cool platform.
I know you aren't a fan of modern age comics.
No.
But I will say that one thing I actually am very excited to see long term, because that's how we felt right off the bat, was these Silver Age keys, these Grail comics are the ones you need to focus on because of the physical value, which I still believe in. Yeah. The only thing that I will say that I'm starting to like, not necessarily question, but kind of reassess my opinion on is some of the significant modern age comics, specifically like Ultimate Fallout #4, right?
True.
Like Miles Morales, I think, he's already become a very popular character, even without being in the MCU, inevitably going to join the MCU.
Sure. Yeah.
And how will that affect these comics that you can buy, sell, and trade instantly worldwide, for Miles Morales?
That's one book. That's one book that I have to read. I don't like modern age books, but that's one book where I'm like, okay, I understand. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Like in the physical world, right? The 9.8 of the I can't say the name of the artist, but it's like a variant. That's like the one of the 25 variant, I believe.
Right.
Yeah. They went for like $40,000, the 9.8, right? And that's insane for a modern age. Yeah. And recently it's been going down like to 30, 35, but the whole market is down. But that is one book that I see on Elite Comics that consistently sells quickly. It's just the demand is there, So that book for sure, I believe.
And scarcity is, it's far from scarce.
No, it's not scarce at all.
There's like 5,000 9.8s.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because they're popular.
Exactly. It's a very popular character, and we are going to see him in like the MCU eventually. And especially that variant cover, that is just insane. Yeah, it's insane. I definitely want to buy it on VeVe. Like my buying point there is like $800. That's like my goal.
Dude, also, we are so in sync on this because that's exactly my buying point. I've been
800?
super patient. Oh, yeah. I've been super patient. I've been waiting for that one to dip down to that level. Because it's getting there. I saw one at 950 the other day, and I'm like, oh, we're getting close. But I'd love to get a 4-digit mid around that price. That's my goal.
That's the goal, yeah. I wish I could get that comic, but right now it's like $1,000. It's pretty consistent. Yeah. So I've seen one at $850 actually, believe it or not, and I let it go. Yeah, I'm a very strict buyer. If I see it at $800, it's mine. If it's at $850 or $815, not mine. So
I will say, if it's a lower mint number, it may be worth.
Well, that's different.
A little lenient too. If you say like a 4-digit or a little 4-digit, I doubt you'll see a 3-digit, but a 4-digit could be a very interesting buying opportunity for sure.
I agree with you. Sure.
Now here's the real question. I mean, we both believe in that comic long term, and what's really exciting is that it's actually one of the few comics as a secret rare that's actually an identical of its physical counterpart.
Exactly.
which
That's
I
different.
think physical collectors could be really attractive for them
Yeah.
long term as well. But
Yeah.
here's an example, like same price right now, or very close to the same price: UF4 SR or FF5 SR.
That's a solid. Man, that's a hard one. I have 2 copies of FF. Yeah, I have 2 copies of FF5, Doctor Doom. However, the villains don't do that well for some reason in the comic market, right? That comic book for some reason is worth a lot of money in the physical world. A 0.5 is around $4,000, right? Even like in horrible condition, ripped up and everything. There's stains. It's $5,000 for FF5. But I believe that when more collectors come onto VeVe, most likely they'll be younger. They'll be more open to new things, I believe. And they're going to look at UF4 and say, it's a modern age comic. I know Miles Morales. I see all the demand for him. I'll buy that instead. So I think on a demand, aspect, I think that UF4 is definitely more in demand than FF5, So that's how I view it.
We're definitely on the same page. I mean, villains for FAs typically don't do as well as hero FAs. And I think a lot of it is because of relevance, popularity, because these heroes are, specifically if we're referring to the MCU, they have long lifespans. Villains don't. But I will say the exception of the rule are anti-heroes. So Loki and Doctor Doom, I anticipate, will be an anti-hero and probably have a longer lifespan in the MCU. So yeah, for that reason, I'm definitely very excited for this. We actually, so Spencer and I actually own a 585 SR of
Wow.
Doctor Doom. Yeah, we
Really?
go and write the drop.
That's cool. Wow.
So we're yeah.
I mean, that book I would definitely buy more of if it goes like to 800-900 for sure. I mean, that's just such a great character, iconic character. You know what I mean? It's a huge book. So that for sure I would get more of.
Easily $1 million plus in its highest grade.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? So when these sales happen, that's the toughest part, which is why I think like during the Mystery 85 is significantly undervalued, because we don't really see sales in its highest grade. We've never seen the sale on its highest grade, but even though 9.0 and above, we don't really see sales happen very often, which doesn't help push up the ceiling. So the book kind of stays stagnant over time for that reason.
No, let's not forget that it's a Silver Age book. So there's not many high grades just to, begin with.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that makes it harder to see. I mean, when the X-Men 1 sale happened, it was like a 9.6. It's very rare. It's rare to see that on the market. There's only 4 in the world, right? So you're not going to see it happen, but it will have a ripple effect to the other grades. So you are right in that aspect where, during Mystery 85, there hasn't been many like recent sales of bigger grades, but once it does happen, every other grade will be affected. So if it sells for a lot of money, like above people like what they think it will be, then that comic will just skyrocket the other grades. So we'll see what happens. Like, look, AF-15, right? Once that sale happened for the 9.6, I believe, it was like 3.6 million. All the other grades just skyrocketed just because of it.
Exactly.
So
push up the ceiling. And it's exciting to see when those sales do happen, how it's going to help the digital counterparts over time too.
Yes.
That's what I'm really excited about. It's something we've been talking about on the podcast for quite some time. And especially Fantastic Four number one of those 296s ever do sell for $10+ million. How's it going to affect the digital counterparts?
I don't think it will sell right now just because the overall market sentiment is not great. So they're going to wait. Like those people that have those kind of comics, they're not going to sell right now. They have big money. They're not. They don't need it. Yeah, they're not going to sell.
They don't need it.
You know what I mean? So we'll see. Like maybe like an inheritance might happen. The kid might not care and just be like, oh, whatever, put it on heritage. But overall, it's not going to happen. I don't think so. Not now, at least.
Well, it's so great having you on the podcast, man. I've been, again, watching your content for quite some time, and I'm really excited to have you in the community, man. It's really, really exciting.
Thanks. I appreciate it. I thank you for letting me on.
Everyone, make sure to follow Giant Size Comics at Giant Size Comics on both Twitter and Instagram.
Yep.
And if you have any questions, definitely leave them in the comments down below, and we will see you on the next one.
Cool. Thank you.